Hi, my name is John Chu. I am a California licensed acupuncturist, and I run a clinic called Mindfully Centered Acupuncture in San Jose, California. I'd like to share with you how I sort of build my own AI assistant in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So the first thing I did was actually I dreamt pretty big. Um, so I looked into, I was born in July, so I was like sort of scrambled to get all my CEUs in line to renew my license. And I sort of look at this and it's like, can I be part of this? Can I provide CEU courses? Can I provide CEU courses, like 50 units for the California acupuncturist and 60 units for the national acupuncturist? Can I do that? Right? Um, and I sort of look deeper inside of me and I say, yes, I can. Okay, I have a framework, what I call mindfully centered approach, and I've been using that for PTSD, for trauma, addiction, many kind of issues. So I think I have something to offer, right? So the initial drive to use ChatGPT was actually to say, I wanna be a CU provider, very, very complete level. Okay, I want to provide, 15 CU courses, each one at 4 units. So that's a total of 60 units. So that was my initial thing. Okay. I know if I want to, start from scratch, not only, um, you know, I, well, or I think, my idea was definitely bigger than my own resources, right? So I started using Chat GPT. Initially, it was really good. Okay. Um, So let me first talk about the setup and directory setup and copy and paste. Okay. Um, so the setup is easy. Okay. You go online, do a Google search on Chat GPT. If that's the AI tool you want to use, then you download, and you can use it, as soon as you download it. At first, it's just called Chat GPT. Okay. So it's a general version. Okay. So if you research, for example, list of auto immune. Okay. So okay. Well, for the sake of speed, list of 3 autoimmune. Okay. So it will give us something like that, right? So it's RA, type 1 diabetes, and SLE. Okay. Then if I say add, okay, TX and side effects, and it will give me this. For the 3 that Chat GPT, the general Chat GPT just did. Okay. Can Google do this? No. Okay. It doesn't remember what we have just done. Okay. So becomes a very iterative process, right? So I can continue to add, ask it to modify, to add, or whatever, right? Let's say add PCM treatment. And it will do that, right? So it will give whatever points and herbs and cupping and qigong and da, right? So very, very, yeah, this is what we learn in school, right? Um, but what if, like me, I treat them very differently, okay? Um, because none of these really resonate too much with me, okay? Um, so I need a way to customize it. Okay, so what I did was okay, so the general GPT is no cost, it's free. In order to create a custom GPT, I need to pay $20 a month, which I think it's probably one of the best $20 I ever spent. Um, so what it allows me to do is to say, I can give it a name, so I can have multiple of these custom GPT. and I will give it a description. I will say, okay, this is what I want you to be. Okay. I want you to be a creative assistant specializing in mindfully centered approach. Okay, so that's my framework. And I will give an instruction. Okay, so this GPT is a creative assistant who excel in generating multiple deliverables based on custom mindfully centered approach knowledge. Okay, it will help users with data. Okay, so it will help me with lots of things, creating visuals, writing contents, generating outlines and details for CUs, for example. Okay, and creating outstanding video scripts and I use the word irresistible promotional materials and brainstorming ideas, all while maintaining the custom mindfully centered approach. Okay, so I'm kind of limiting it to me, to be me. Okay, to my truth. Right. And I think this is very, very important. Right? I think a lot of acupuncturists really follow their heart, right? We all learn basically the same thing, but after a while, what is really true to us, right? And I think the only truth we can, truly share with others is from our firsthand experience, not from what we learn. Um, yeah. Anyway, so that's the instruction for the GPT. And then here's the key, okay? The key is we can upload a whole bunch of files that we write, right, to the GPT's knowledge database, okay? So all of a sudden, every question that we ask, doesn't just go to, the general, sea of information. Everything is very, very specific to our framework. Okay. So let's say a list of 3 autoimmune. Okay. Now we say, okay, MCA-TX. Okay. So it will start to give me things that are very, very specific to my framework. For example, midbrain and heart connection. Okay, to me, this is essentially do channel and Ren channel. Resolution of any pending reptilian brain commands. Okay, so if the person has trauma, um, and the reptilian brain was issuing commands at that time, and none of the commands or partial part of the commands were not executed, they become pending in the body essentially. So I train on a lot, so I see rigidity and stuff like that. More than often, I will ask, have you had life and death situation? They do. Okay. Um, I'm very focused on cultivation. So this reply will be very, very specific to the stuff I trained it with. Okay. Um, and honestly, one of the reason I want to share this is again, each and every acupuncturist, if we can truly share our first-hand experience, Chinese medicine will be great. But if everything we do, or most of the things that we do are highly protocol driven, right, and not our first-hand experience based, right, Chinese medicine doesn't thrive. Chinese medicines are evolving all the time throughout the decades, right? So, and the reason why it evolves is because the practitioners' first-hand experience and their willingness to share with the world. Okay, so let's see. So, um, so the directory setup, okay, I don't think I mentioned that yet. So my directory is called Thinkific. So that's the directory I use. Where did it go? Yeah. So that's the tool I use. I'm gonna do the e-learning. I'm gonna do all the CU stuff. So I separate this whole directory to cases, the CUs that's like essentially I generate 15 or so CUs within a very short amount of time, 2-3 days probably. Okay. I still need to fine tune them a bit, but they're basically there. I have the info section where I do all my research, for example, type of cancer. There's one that's pretty interesting, Aboriginal initiation and healing rituals. Okay. And to me, we can learn a lot, right, from how Aboriginal people who send their sons, when they're 14 or even younger, at the full moon into the forest or into the wild, and basically said, come back, at the next full moon. And they will come back, right, all traumatized, all scared, everything, right? Physically, maybe, hurt and everything else, right? And they know how to bring these people back so they become trusted members of the tribe, right? I think this is so important for us to learn. So, you know, um, but anyway, so I do a lot of these things. To me, using, if I do Google search and try to get this information, it's bits and pieces, and I have to somehow put them together. Any question we ask, about, to these AI, generative stuff, right? They will come back with a beautifully, formatted and outlined document for us to ask for the questions we have if we want to. Okay, so it's a very iterative process. Okay, so I have directories, and one of this directory is what I call the MCA GPT directory. So this is my training directory. Okay, so everything I want my custom GPT to know, for example, this custom GPT training. So this is basically my entire framework, okay? Mindfully centered approach. So I have foundations, I have guiding principles, I have diagrams, I have, channel knowledges, and, you know, a huge part of it is actually emotions. Um, so I honestly spend about a week, maybe even longer, just trying to write this, and then I feed it into ChatGPT, and I literally ask it to generate an ebook, right? And the goal is not to publish an ebook, but through the chat, my MCA GPT, which is my custom GPT, through its generation of an ebook, I will have a very good insight of how much it has grasped my my framework, right? Because I wanted to think and act like me, right? That's what a assistant is really all about, right? I don't want to argue or, help or, compliment my assistant. I want my assistant to model as closely as how I would think, right? Um, so that is the setup. Okay. So one of the funny thing about this is, like, okay, let's say GPT give us this beautiful outline, right? So there's a ways to, so this is copy, okay. And what I normally do is I will go back into my Google Drive, for example, under this, and I will create a new document, and I'll say create and share, um, basically create, because this is a shared directory, and I will just do a paste. Okay. Oh, yeah. So we'll paste it, okay, but the format is all messed up. Okay, so there's another way to do this, which is basically just, drag this whole document, okay, and then do a copy. And when I do a paste, for example, right here, it will actually have fairly reasonable formatting, okay? But the headings are, I would like this to be heading 2, for example, then I just have to go, and check them out or modify them. But it's much better than this type of a deal, right? So this is what I normally do. Again, I would just highlight what my custom GPT generated, and do a copy and do a paste in the document. Okay, so I don't need this. So that's how I train my own AI system. Okay, and in the beginning, it's a very, very iterative process. Okay. I will actually have discussion with it, almost like a discussion session with it. Um, you know, for example, Sanjiao, for example. Okay. Um, and this is actually the knowledge base. So after the Sanjiao discussion, right? How do we explain Sanjiao to a Western patients, for example, right? Um, so I use pain, to be honest with you, because pain speaks louder than any theory or explanation. Um, but anyway, so after our back and forth discussion, I say, okay, generate a summary for your own knowledge database. And they actually went ahead and generate this, right? So then all I gotta do is to load it. Um, all I gotta do is to load it into, the knowledge session. Okay. Um, I haven't generated a PDF. I need to generate a PDF for it to load properly. Okay. So I do research, I do CU generation, I do future planning. It's really good at, give me a 5-year plan or something like that. Or if I have a website, give it a website link and say, okay, can you take a look and tell me what I can improve, or which areas I can improve. It does that. It really does. And the biggest thing for me, honestly, in the past few weeks, I'm sure most of us do, is we have ideas. We have things we want to share with the world, right? Um, but sometimes when we have ideas and we don't have the proper tool to make an actionable plan, the idea kind of just, lingering on in the back of our mind, right? Eventually just kind of like, okay, there's nothing I can do, right? Um, but with my own custom GPT, I feel like, I'm so much empowered, not by this AI assistant, but but by allowing my imagination and my creativity to really thrive, you know. Um, and I honestly honor all my fellow acupuncturists, and please let's all do that, allow our imagination, our creativity and our passion to shine. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.